I'm not going to start this video off with a joke because I'm not really in a joking kind of mood. The events of January 6th have been kind of traumatic for me to watch. And a bunch of people asked me to talk about Mozilla's take on the whole deplatforming of Donald Trump. I've been asked repeatedly by people to take a look at Mozilla's latest incendiary blog post. Let it be known that I have been both a fierce critic and staunch defender of Mozilla, depending on their position over the years. And while I am a fan of Firefox, I'm not going to let that impact my assessment of what Mozilla said here. Fact of the matter is, you can disagree with a position that a person or a company takes and not automatically make them your enemy by doing so. And neither does it automatically make that company wrong in perpetuity. That's simply not how the world works. For example, I am a donor to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I have donated to them for multiple years at this point, but I have also disagreed with some of the positions and lawsuits that the company or the organization has taken. However, overall, even though I disagree with them on some things, I still believe that they are a worthy and worthwhile organization, and I continue to donate to them. Just because I disagree with someone doesn't make them my enemy. In the wake of January 6, 2021, where armed Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol, and that is an indisputable fact, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat, and a bunch of other social media platforms decided to suspend Donald Trump indefinitely. And then Mozilla issued a statement in a blog post titled, "We need more than deplatforming." In it, Mitchell Baker, the CEO of Mozilla, stated that she believed that deplatforming of the President of the United States was not enough. Quote, "By all means, the question of when to deplatform a head of state is a critical one, among many that must be addressed. When should platforms make these decisions? Is the decision-making power theirs alone? But as reprehensible as the actions of Donald Trump are, the rampant use of the internet to foment violence and hate and reinforce white supremacy is about more than any one personality. Donald Trump is certainly not the first politician to exploit the architecture of the internet in this way, and he won't be the last. We need solutions that don't start after untold damage has been done." She then goes on and calls for the platforms to, quote, "reveal who is paying for advertisements, how much they are paying, and who is being targeted, commit to meaningful transparency of platform algorithms so we know how and what content is being amplified, to whom, and the associated impact. Turn on by default the tools to amplify factual voices over disinformation, and work with independent researchers to facilitate in-depth studies of the platform's impact on people and our societies, and what we can do to improve things." And you know what? I read that and I said, this can't be the post that people are talking about in my comments. People are saying stuff like, "I can't believe the leftist communist philosophy that Mozilla is promoting in these blog posts." And I read that and I'm like, I must have the wrong post. The problem is none of them left links, so I had to go searching for this article on my own. I saw the title, I said, oh, this is probably it. But when I actually read it, I was like, what is so wrong about this? But the longer I thought about it, the more I realized I disagree with Mozilla. Keep in mind that Trump and his co-conspirators in Congress and in the Capitol Police planned for armed and radicalized seditionists who, mind you, were equipped to take hostages, that attempted a coup against the United States Constitution and seat an emperor in the White House. This attempt failed because they weren't able to take hostages. If they had taken a hostage, things might have played out quite differently. But the question is, how did this happen? I mean, how did Trump convince 10,000 stalwart QAnons to commit sedition against the Constitution of the United States? It's simple. Social media. Social media is exclusively a radicalization tool. It's a tool designed solely to maximize your engagement and addiction to the platform. And if I'm being honest, few of us here are completely clear of conscience in this regard. I know that I personally waste way too much time on Twitter, and I have tweeted some really dumb things before as well. And also keep in mind that this is not a both sides argument. Clearly, violent sedition is one of the worst outcomes of social media radicalization. But there are degrees of radicalization, and there is room for nuanced observation here. And the problem really becomes, if everyone's been radicalized and inculcated with these indoctrinations, then nobody's listening to each other, and we don't have a country anymore. Raise your hand if you had friends in the 2016 election who were Bernie or bust. They were inarguably radicalized to believe that their only choice was between Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump. These are people who said, if Bernie Sanders does not get the nomination for the Democrats, then I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. And those same people who were Bernie or bust believed that if you were voting for the Democratic candidate, then you must be equally as corrupt and evil and wicked as the person you were voting for. I personally lost friends who became radicalized in this exact way. I lost these friends not because I wanted them out of my life, but because they could no longer associate with me, because I told them straight up that I could not vote for Donald Trump either directly or indirectly. And look, I like Bernie Sanders. I still do. I supported him in both of the previous primaries. I think he represents my conservative values more than just about any other member of Congress. And you might be confused by that statement, but it's a fact. In the lead up to the 2016 primary, I hosted the single largest Bernie Sanders grassroots rally in the state of Maine. I also was a delegate from my town at the Maine Democratic Convention. And I believed at the time, and I still believe this today, that if Bernie Sanders had been the Democratic nominee, Donald Trump would not be president today. But the multiple friends that I lost because of their radicalization on social media is tragic to me. They were inarguably radicalized. They were manipulated by social media, by the memes, by the hyper-targeted political messaging that these platforms provide, by the echo chamber that these services are engineered to create. Similarly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a vegan. I've considered becoming at least vegetarian myself, but I personally know vegans who have lost their pets because they refused to feed their carnivorous animals meat. Think about that for a frickin' second. It pisses me off. Not feeding your pet the food it needs to survive? They have been radicalized by social media. Flat earthers, blood over intent, QAnon, anti-vax, some atheist groups, some Christian groups, and yes, even some Antifa. You don't have to be on the right to be susceptible to radicalization, and to believe so is dangerous naivety. And again, I condemn in the strongest term the Trump supporters who committed an act of treason against the United States. Trump and his co-conspirators need to be held personally accountable for what happened. The people who were at the Capitol rioting and breaking into the Capitol need to be similarly held accountable. But this video is about recognizing that radicalization is a real problem and that these platforms are designed in such a way to radicalize people. When they talk about engagement, replace the word engagement with radicalization. That's really what it is. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, their sole purpose for existing is to profit off of this radicalization. And in TikTok's case, it's for a foreign adversary to do so. So what can be done about any of this? And I know so many libertarians who are up in arms saying, well, I mean, sure, it might be a problem, but nothing can be done about this because freedom of speech and these companies are our freedom of speech, which is insane to me. I am in favor of strong legislation that would make much of Facebook and other social media platforms, including YouTube, illegal. For example, certain UX designs that feature like and share buttons, link previews, personally tailored or algorithmically curated timelines, they would all be banned in my legislation. I'd also ban advertising completely on these platforms. These companies have proven that they cannot be responsible enough to actually allow advertising on their platform. And finally, I would make providing free of charge accounts on these platforms illegal. If you want a Facebook or a Twitter or even a YouTube account, you have to pay for it. Now, what would this do? Well, banning link previews would slow the spread of sensationalist and misleading headlines. Similarly, prohibiting algorithmically curated timelines would prevent the companies from showing you content that's meant to outrage you. Banning advertising on these platforms is also a high priority, since they basically allow you to hyper target your preferred victim, and by victim I mean your audience, in a way that is deadly to democracy. If you want to target a sad, divorced, lonely, conservative-leaning white guy who once had a good-paying manufacturing job and is now either unemployed or underemployed, well, Facebook will charge you fractions of a penny for every eyeball of those type of person, and tailor your ads per user, and will even allow you to do A/B testing to find the most effective way to convert your preferred audience. Finally, charging people for use of these platforms would change the incentive of the platform holder, changing it from keeping people outraged so they continue doom scrolling, and instead providing value to their users so that they continue to pay for the service. All of these are entirely within the realm of possibility and the jurisdiction of the legislatures of the United States Congress. And you know what? Even state legislators. If you agree with me on this, we need to actually get this in front of legislators. Let them know that people in the technology industry actually understand this stuff and know that they need to take action on it. Please, if you agree with me, reach out to your state legislators, share this video with them, let them know that we actually care and things need to be done. If we don't crack down on these platforms that are profiting off of the death of our country, then we're not a country anymore. We have nothing left. And make sure you let me know in the comments how much of a hypocrite I am for posting a video like this about YouTube and social media platforms on YouTube, because everybody seems to do that lately. But I don't know. I'd like to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this. I feel like this is the minimum that needs to be done in order to save the country that I love. If you're not aware, I actually play music. I have like a guitar and stuff. I have a SoundCloud account. I wrote a song called My America. I'm thinking about making a music video about it, or based on it. I don't know. Let me know if you'd like to see that here on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I want you to have a blessed day. Thank you.